Welcome to Medicine with the Metals. I'm Mark, and this is Michelle. Join us on our psychedelic journeys. Wow, Michelle, what a great week, huh? Great week, bad week, roller coaster week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's been a lot of emotions, both personally and in our community. We've lost a couple of people. I might get a little bit emotional. We had a member of our community who committed suicide last weekend. That's been really tough for this community. And then personally, I actually back home, I had 3 people that were involved in a murder-suicide, which is unheard of. It's been a lot of emotions this week, a whole lot.
Yeah.
And our community is in great pain and great mourning, but it's an opportunity. It's always an opportunity to learn and support and love one another.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing we get out of these is lessons. Everything's a lesson. I guess if we don't learn the lesson, we just leave the lesson, you know? So I guess we do have, besides that, there's with us, emotional roller coasters all week too, with shedding, reshedding, setting boundaries, how important boundaries are. And when we start setting those boundaries, things become uncomfortable for some people.
Things become uncomfortable. Anxiety arises. And that's the beauty of our guest today is she's going to talk to us about anxiety and releasing that anxiety through psychedelics and the work that she does. So
why don't we go and introduce our guest? Go ahead and introduce her today.
Yeah. So Noemi Sparks is with us, and she's going to be talking, like I said, about releasing anxiety. And we're excited for that. I think we're going to take a quick commercial break. And as soon as we get back, we're going to have her on.
Tired of feeling like you're barely holding on? Are you searching online for answers, only to come up with more questions? Looking for ways to feel better and make life more livable? There is a way where you can feel better and take on the world. Transforming your mental health, nourishing both your body and mind. Embark on a journey to lasting happiness and vitality, all powered by the wisdom of Mother Earth.
And welcome back. So today we're really excited, Mark. We have got, her name is Noemi. I'm going to pronounce that right. Noemi Sparks. She is an energy wizard, which I can't wait to hear what that's all about. She is the author of a book called Microdose Magic. We love microdosing at the Plant Medicine Path. So welcome, Noemi. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us.
Hi, Michelle. Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to join you today.
We're excited to have you. Let's start off. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Noemi Sparks. I'm a clinical EFT practitioner and psychedelic guide, and also a Ganja yoga teacher. Cannabis was my first ally in this journey of healing, and it was one that I was just so grateful to get to experience in the healing power of community. And it was what really helped me notice that there was something deeper going on that I needed to. So cannabis really helped me get into my body, but it was noticing that I wasn't feeling like myself when I wasn't high that helped me realize that there was something else I needed to acknowledge that was going on in my nervous system. And that's what led me to clinical EFT. And that practice, so EFT or emotional freedom techniques, clinical EFT more specifically, is a series of 46 different techniques that help to regulate the nervous system. And after a really profound experience in a one-on-one session with a guide, I stopped waking up and going to bed with anxiety. And so cannabis became not just my ally for all of the things, but rather just I was able to experience the expanded power of it, not just it as a coping tool. And that was what really got me started in accessing more medicines and more ways of getting into my nervous system with the help of psychedelics and really regulating my own nervous system.
So what is an energy wizard? What does that mean?
Yeah, an energy wizard is someone who can change how they feel. And real talk, this is anyone if they have the capacity to tune into their nervous system and release energy that isn't there to help us in the moment. And so here, in the West especially, we don't have a culture that allows us to feel our feelings in the moment. Most of the time, we just push them down, but press them, really repress them in the moment to keep going, to keep working, doing the things. And a lot of the times, what ends up happening is then those emotions that we weren't able to feel in that moment kind of explode in times that aren't really useful for us to feel those feelings. And so an energy wizard is someone who can notice how they're feeling, release that emotion in the moment, and let themselves really tune into the present moment without the extra energy of our thought process of what could be going on, those kind of what ifs, catastrophizing and lamenting the past, but rather we can really be here fully in the present moment.
So is it more addressing things as they come up, addressing them as they happen instead of putting them off, pushing them down?
Yes, that absolutely. Addressing them in the moment and also having the capacity to release energy from the past. So this is what I call kind of stagnant emotions or maladaptive emotions that are showing up in the moment as a response to the past. Anxiety is one of these.
And you talked a little bit about the nervous system. I'm a firm believer of the nervous system violates everything about us. And, once we kind of organize that and fix that, it seems to really catapult our healing because I think traumas come from our deprived nervous system. It's just been shaken up from whatever reason. And I like how you explain cannabis there. Because some people, we can use it as both ways. We can use it for coping and we can use it for expansion. I don't think there's no negative to either one of those two. I think in the psychedelic space, and I don't see cannabis as a psychedelic as much so as the others, but I do believe that it has evolved into this plant medicine space that there's so many good for cannabis, and it's always going to be coping for some, but there's a lot of getting out of your mind with cannabis.
I do believe that all use of cannabis, whether or not we call it recreational, is medicinal because it is helping the nervous system and really helping the body. I like to say that cannabis is for the body, mushrooms are for the mind, and meditation is for the soul. And cannabis helped me get into my body so that then I can notice that there's something else that I needed to address in my mind. And when I started microdosing mushrooms, that's when I realized that it's all about getting into my feelings. Mushrooms helped me feel my feelings without feeling that overwhelm or guilt of expressing all of myself. Because I grew up in a conservative household where I was told that, children are best seen and not heard. And so what that meant was expressing my negative emotions or just really anything loudly was not okay. And so I, was deep into my adulthood, not being able to feel my feelings and then having to cope with those later on. But mushrooms helped me just feel those feelings in the moment during my regular, day to day. I like to call it my muggle day. And I didn't feel overwhelmed by them anymore.
Right.
What was your first experience with psychedelics? How did you get into psychedelics in the first place? I know you explained the cannabis, but how did you then get into the realm of psychedelics?
I wanted to find God. I was looking for God, and I saw this documentary on Vice. It was Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia. I'm sure your listeners have heard of this one before. And I saw the episode about 5-MeO-DMT. And I saw these people having these really profound experiences in a short period of time. So what I really wanted for myself was to experience divinity without having to go through these larger kind of journeys because, real talk, I was looking for something that I could do here in the US without having to travel abroad or having to have a longer experience because I was working for corporate at the time and I couldn't take that kind of time off. So hearing that I could have this transformative experience and really just have a full nervous system reset in about 20 minutes was what drew me first to Bufo medicine.
And how was that?
Amazing. I experienced myself as God, and nothing has been the same since then.
So you found God.
Isn't that the truth from day one though? We're told that God, for me, that was my experience with 5-MeO. 5-MeO was the God molecule. That was the one that showed me source. And I think at the end of the day, through theories, we are God, and not in a selfish manner in any way, shape, or form, but in that holy manner, we are why we're here. And, I think God can be whatever you make it be, but that is one experience where you definitely get the grounding of what the purpose of life is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you said that holy experience, because on a practical level, it's that experience of us as whole selves, as our authentic selves, with all the parts, the shadow parts, the light parts, and that's what makes us holy. I believe is getting to be our whole authentic selves and not having to push down those parts of us that weren't welcome as children, which then becomes our programming right later on. Because until we're about the ages of 6 or 7, we just don't have the capacity to discern between what's real and what's not, or what's good for us and what's not. So everything that we see until then just becomes normal, and that's our programming. And so those parts of us that weren't okay then, or weren't encouraged and loved and seen and respected, those are what become our shadow parts. And as adults, it's up to us to, if we're up for it, to find ways to love those parts of us anyway, and then to really be our whole holy selves.
Psychedelics does that. Psychedelics will really, really engage you into those shadows.
Can you talk to us a little bit about EFT tapping? Because I think that there are many paths to get to the source of what we're seeking, right? And psychedelics are one, breath work is one, yoga is one. There are so many methods to get to where we need to get to. So talk to me a little bit about EFT tapping and what that means, what it is, and what it does.
Yeah. So EFT, or emotional freedom techniques, it's a series of different techniques, but tapping is the most popular one. It's the one you've probably seen. The Ortners do it. There's a few other influencers who are really open about their use of tapping. But essentially, it's a way to regulate the nervous system by tapping on meridian points. And these are the same meridian points that show up in traditional Chinese medicine, so acupuncture and acupressure. And these meridians are shown to hold more energy than other parts of the body. And as we're tapping on these points, and while feeling certain feelings, we can actually release them from the nervous system. And you hear this a lot of, like, you need to feel it to heal it. And what that really just means is feeling that emotion that is here in your body in the moment, but is the response to the past. When you can feel that while tapping on the body, so while applying vibration to the body, which is the body's real language, right? The body doesn't understand English, any language, the body understands vibration. So while we're applying vibration and feeling our feelings, that's what lets the emotions move through our nervous system. And tapping is one way to get to that place of down regulate and letting go of emotions that are just being held by our vessels long past their time of efficacy.
Can we try it?
Can we do something for the audience?
Yeah.
Can we just show a little bit of tapping, maybe for 30 seconds, and show the audience a little bit about what it is?
Yeah, so I'm not going to go over all the points. If you want to check them out, I have great YouTube videos on it. But essentially, we're tapping on 9 different points, and I'm just going to call them out as I'm moving through them. But the most important piece is that you just feel how you're feeling. And I know, at the beginning of this call, we mentioned that this past week has been really intense. So just feeling any of that intensity right now and giving it a score on a scale of 0 to 10. And just, for the simplicity's sake, we can call this stress. So this feeling of stress, noticing where it's at in your body and giving it a score on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being you don't feel it at all, and 10 being the most intense. And as you're feeling that feeling, we're going to start tapping on the side of the hand, so underneath the pinky crease. And then you can repeat these thoughts either aloud or to yourself, and just following the points or following through the points with me. So here we go. Even though I feel this stress in my body, I know right now I'm safe. And I'm giving myself compassion anyway. Even though I feel stress in my body, and maybe it's been there for a long time, I'm giving myself compassion anyway. Even though I feel this stress in my body, I know right now I'm safe. And I love and accept myself anyway. Then we move to the crown of the head, tapping with 2 hands or 1, this stress in my body. Beginning of the eyebrows, this stress that maybe helped get me here. Side of the eye, this stress that I don't need anymore. Underneath the eyes, I'm grateful that I have this stress. Underneath the nose, but I don't need it right now. Underneath the lip, I'm allowing myself to relax. Underneath the collarbone points, this is me releasing stress right now. Underneath the arm, this is me taking care of my nervous system right now. I'm going to go sides of the hands together. Even though I feel this stress, and maybe I've been carrying this feeling for a long time, I know right now I'm safe. And I'm giving myself compassion anyway. Even though I feel this stress in my body, I know right now I'm safe. And I love and accept myself anyway. Even though I have this stress in my body, I know it's human of me to feel this way. And I deeply and completely accept myself anyway. All right, release your hands, take a breath, let it out through the mouth.
Do you think that's a lot of vagus nerve? You think that's a lot of vagus nerve?
Yes, that's a really big part of it, especially when we're connecting the feelings that we're having in the body from just thinking about them to actually experiencing them in our body. That is regulating the vagus nerve and just allowing us on a practical level to shift from fight or flight into rest and digest. Because as we're applying vibration, that's really communicating to our body that we are safe, even though our mind is trying to tell us otherwise, especially when we're, watching the news or having thoughts about what could be going on in other parts of the world. Then our nervous system is still on, and our vagus nerve then is not able to really let the body relax. So this actually helps us do that. And I like to say that EFT is not a faith-based practice. You don't need to believe in this for it to work. This is literally just applying vibration to the body while exposing yourself to feelings that either you're having in this moment or maybe you've had in the past, but that your body's still holding on to. And that is how we are allowing the vagus nerve to relax.
Really cool because go ahead.
No,
Michelle,
I was just going to say, I think that it's also taking that moment away and deep breathing and taking the space. I mean, it's almost like catching your breath for a few minutes and deep breathing. It's taking that moment away. And I think that's got to be what's helpful as well. It's just stepping back.
Yeah, the deep breathing, the diaphragmatic breathing is definitely a big part of it. If we're doing multiple rounds, and that's usually ideal, then we are pausing between and really allowing that exhale to really extend. And that's another way that we're telling the body and vagus nerve that we're safe to relax.
Yeah, that vagus nerve is a real highway of activity that I think we forget a lot about, and when it gets blocked up and the traffic jams are full, I guess you got to tap it out. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, this is our favorite subject by far. Me, myself, I've done all psychedelics, probably except for one. But for the nervous system, I have to say Iboga was the one to really reset. But our favorite of all medicines, and I think the medicine of the Western world, is definitely going to be psilocybin. That is, like Michelle says all the time, the great connector. We've been lied to for so long about this medicine and the benefits of it. And I don't even think I know we're waking up. We're waking up because we really have nothing else to look for anymore. There's no other route to really go. And this works. So tell us a little bit what you do in that space of microdosing and psilocybin.
Yeah, so I run group microdosing programs virtually. So I've been doing this since around 2021, during the pandemic. I had some people who were interested in microdosing, and they wanted to experience it in community with others. But because everyone was, lockdown was happening and we weren't really able to get together in person, I started holding space for people online to get together and talk about microdosing. And very soon I saw space to actually teach a little bit more about microdosing, so more about psilocybin, the alchemy of it, and what we're actually doing in our bodies as people, dealing with stress and burnout and recovering from trauma. How can we actually regulate our nervous systems and release energy from the past? And by doing this work, this deeper kind of traumatic healing work while microdosing, it was that much easier for people to feel all the feelings during and then feel still connected with others as we're witnessing each other express emotions, shed just layers together from needing to look, from our lives needing to look a certain way, like letting that go and just really leaning in, sort of melting into that idea that we are all connected. And it's not a space of needing to do it all by ourselves anymore. Community is such an important piece of our healing practice. So even though people can microdose by themselves, they can, absolutely do that alone. I believe that the real healing power is when we can do it together. And I've had the the opportunity to offer that online for about 3 years now.
And you also authored a book called Microdose Magic. Is that the name of it?
Yeah, it's a 28-day journal. It's a guide for people experiencing microdosing for the first time, or maybe or who are new to it. And while it has mushrooms on it, you can really microdose any kind of medicine. I know some people microdose CBD or canna, and I've heard of people microdosing ketamine as well. I have thoughts on that, but maybe for another time. But the real importance in this book for me was allowing people to reflect day to day on how they feel. And then after each week, they go back and reflect on like, okay, what does actually feel different? Have I accomplished the things that I wanted to? And how do I feel about myself? Because that reflective piece is so important to track actually how we're doing with our mental and emotional health. So this journal is just an easy 28-day guide.
Yeah, because I mean, for us, because we do have the microdosing too. And I think for us, our biggest questions we get is two. The biggest question is, after 2 days, why isn't this working? I mean, this is a process of, like, we tell people at least 90 days, but that first 30, you'll see some definite results. And then the next biggest question is, can I use this on my medication? And again, we can say yes to most of that, because I think it is safe. There are some antidepressants that aren't, but I think a lot of people want to wean off these antidepressants. So what is your answer to both of those?
First, I say trust your intuition. If you're feeling called to try microdosing and you have a trusted source, then it's absolutely worth trying. I know there are more and more resources that actually show potential contraindications. And like you said, there are very few medications that actually would blunt the effect enough that it wouldn't be useful. But it is definitely one of those things that if you are on SSRIs, that you might not feel it as much. And that's what people want, is start feeling their feelings more. So once again, I think it's really about trusting your intuition if you feel called to use the medicine, and also knowing that if you want to have a doctor who can help you a little bit more if you've been on medications for a long period of time, then there are a lot of doctors, or more and more doctors out there, who are willing to talk about titrating off of serious pharmaceuticals 100%. While exploring psychedelics.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very, it's becoming much more open to talk. I mean, I'll talk to anybody about it, but to talk to your doctor about it. And if not, there are plenty of medical personnel in this spiritual world that we're in down this path that will help. We've got the Ben Malcolm, the spirit pharmacist, who is an affiliate of ours, and he's an incredible person to talk with about titrating off of these, off of your SSRIs and whatnot. So there's help available.
Absolutely. And talking about titrating off, what's ganja yoga with kittens?
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah. So ganja yoga with kittens, it's a 90-minute class I'm offering locally. So I live in Grass Valley, California. And it's a class that is focused on really just relaxing the body. This isn't cardio. We're not going to be doing any chaturangas, no warrior three, nothing like that. This is really just about getting into your body, and at the same time being with community and kittens, and being as high as you want to be, not feeling worried about having to, go answer the phone or go answer the door or anything like that, but just a safe container where you can just be as high as you want to be for about 90 minutes, relaxing the body, listening to some music together, talking, in community, having a sesh beforehand and after. So we can just really let go of that need to adult for a little bit, and to play with some kittens at the same time.
Michelle, that sounds like something we need after the show. Get as high as we want to be.
And play with kittens. It's kind of like goat yoga, right? I mean, the whole point is to relax and be able to be with the babies. I think that's awesome. And I saw something else you've got. It's called Radical Rest Rage Retreat. Talk to me about this.
So I hold rest retreats every season, but I've also been adding another kind of a smaller mini retreat that's a rage release. And so this is a practice of tuning into where we're feeling repressed emotion, repressed anger, rage, frustration in the body, to let it out, and then to let ourselves really renew and replenish our nervous systems with community connection, other plant medicines, food especially. But the rage release part for me as a clinical EFT practitioner is really a somatic release, because I'm sure sure we've all seen these rage release rooms before where it's, you're smashing stuff, you're screaming, whatever. But those are very much performative unless you're tuning into that feeling in your body where you've been holding rage. And so I like to go in first and kind of tune into that feeling of anger in your body. And sometimes that comes with remembering a time when you were probably pretty young where you wanted to feel that anger, or when someone violated your boundaries and you weren't able to express that to say no. And so that feeling is one that we often hold on to in our nervous systems. And then that's what kind of explodes in times where it doesn't feel like it's actually helpful or effective use of our energy. So the rage release is about releasing rage from the past, or energy, really anger from the past that at the time would have been healthy, but after years of repressing it has become toxic and potentially can manifest as deeper issues like autoimmune disorders and chronic pain. Because if we are repressing anger, so anger as a healthy feeling that is just a response to our boundaries being violated, what that does is it literally represses our immune function as well. So that's what then can manifest as deeper issues. And that's what I'm hoping to hold space to release together as a community.
How do you release it? How do you do it? How do you do it at your retreat?
Yeah. So if we're doing it in person, it's usually I put on about 10 minutes of just like kind of angry music, probably songs you've heard before, maybe some Linkin Park, some Papa Roach, stuff that, you really get angsty about. And then what we do is we curl our hands into a fist, really squeezing the hands, and then imagining like you're shaking bars kind of on a jail or just some kind of cage. You're pushing, pulling, releasing, really shaking these bars in the body until you start feeling a response in your body as well. That's when we bring the breath in. So for some people, this is more just like a guttural release. Some people can actually scream. Like, it was just one of the most beautiful sounds when I first held one of these releases, and just hearing women rage, like actually scream, and not as like a scream of fear, but a scream of fuck you. That kind of scream together. Yeah. And like seeing each other in that rage while knowing that we're safe is a really, really healing experience. So it's shaking the body, getting into the vocal cords, getting really into the breath as well. And at the same time, just allowing any other emotions to come up. So a lot of the times that'll show up as like shaking, tingling, crying. And at the end, when we are kind of done, that's when we sort of tune back in, allow ourselves to really extend that breath again. And if we're doing this in person, especially if it's around the fall, that's when we go and actually break some stuff.
I love it.
That. Now let's ask one thing. How about challenges for you in this space? I know you've been in a state that's had legalized cannabis for like the first, but all the other areas, what are you guys facing there? Your challenges?
Yeah, so the hardest part is finding microdoses. So for people who are ready, if the mushroom has called them, they will absolutely be able to find a source. But because it's gray area a little bit, there is a level of trust that needs to be had with the person that you're connecting with. And my recommendation is always to find people smoking weed, because they will know how to get you mushrooms in your own area. That's probably the hardest part. The second challenge I would say is not feeling like it's going to actually do enough. Because a lot of the people that I work with have treatment resistant anxiety. So they've tried traditional therapy, so talk therapy, probably are on medications as well, but still don't feel like themselves. And some of the people that I work with have also done psychedelic assisted therapies, but kind of in the more capitalist form, where like they just received some pills in the mail, but weren't actually told what that was going to do to them, like what actually they were going to experience. And so they don't have a trust in what we could potentially do together.
Interesting. I like that last part. So we know some trusted source, Mama Dose, that affiliate.
One of our
trusted.
affiliates.
Yes. But yeah, I'm very surprised you didn't say legalities. So, because I feel that that's our biggest hurdle right now. And I think the stigma is kind of being lifted daily. I mean, this is all over the place now. And I think the science is there. And I think the trust with the government is really fading, and people are looking for holistic Holistic
Yeah.
or other options. I don't know what you want to call them, but I call them holistic or plant medicines or what the earth gave us. I mean, why are we changing that?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that legality part is what I mean by the gray area. So it's not
Mm,
exactly legal for me to send you anything, but I can help you find a place to receive trusted medicine. But yeah, so when people are at the point where they're coming to talk to me, they're not super worried about it being legal anymore. It's more just making sure that they're not getting crap in the mail. Because unfortunately, without regulation, we don't really know what's in stuff. But I
mhm.
always point to sources that do have testing for their medicines to actually show the content of what's in the medicine that they're receiving.
So you are located in California. You do in person, but you have online events as well. Can you tell us how we can find you and what do you have coming up?
Yeah, so my microdose coaching is all virtual right now. I do some microdose and some macrodose stuff in person here, depending on the group and what kind of size we're talking about. But for virtual work, I do a seasonal microdosing program. I have a larger one that's called Wizard School. That's an 11-week program where we microdose the entire time together, and we go through different lessons on how to actually free our nervous system from old energy and how to then step into the quantum and start having a trust in what could be rather than a fear of uncertainty. And so that just finished for my fall cohort. We're going to start again in spring. But this winter, I'm going to be doing a 4-week mini microdose program for just 28 days. That's following my journal. That's right up there on my shelf. And so that one is open to anyone who wants to join and wants to try just a mini kind of microdosing experience within community. So this is that once again is the most important piece here because people can microdose by themselves and that's great. But getting to see other people and hear about other people's experiences, their own mental health challenges and journeys, that can really help us have a deeper experience with our own healing. And that's going to be starting the first Monday of January. So that's January 8th.
People wouldn't need to see other people and their experience and what they're doing and how they evolved. I think that's really what people want to see, especially in this space, because it's a lot of trust to be gained and a lot of people like to see results. And I think you see a lot of results in this space.
And that
Yeah.
community also that you mentioned, community
Mhm.
is such an important part of it.
For sure.
Yeah, I
For
remember the
sure.
first time I dosed with a group of people, and I remember thinking that, oh, she's just like me, even though, different life, different background. Just remember seeing myself in someone else and just feeling so connected, first to other people and then to everything. And that's what's been my goal in continuing to do this work is to help people feel more connected through the medicine and through their own energy.
Well, that's why psilocybin's the great connector. And so let us tell you before we end here, where can we find you online and what good things are you doing coming
Yeah,
up?
so on Instagram, I am Noemi Sparks. That's my main handle. I also have a Patreon community or a membership that's called Energy Mastery Club. We meet on Sundays, 9:30 to 10 a.m. Pacific, and that's a tapping group where we tap to release stress and anxiety together. I've been doing that since 2020, so that's going on 4 years now. And we also have two other longer sessions. So we meet on Tuesdays where we tap to release our feeling of needing to work more before we can rest. I like to say that this is all about deprogramming our sense of worth from our productivity. So allowing ourselves to rest first before we go out and do the things. That we meet on Tuesdays at 4 to 4:45 Pacific. And then I have another Ganja yoga class online. We meet every other Wednesday, and that one's just an hour long. It's about 30 minutes of movement, short guided meditation, and then we journal together and then chat about it a little bit. And that's all through Energy Mastery Club through Patreon.
Very cool. I love this tapping. I'm definitely going to start learning more about this. And just one more quick question before we go with this tapping. Is this something that you recommend people do in the moment also? I mean, not just setting time aside, but in the moment?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're ever feeling overwhelmed, tapping underneath the collarbone points is one of the best ways to just get back into your body, because this is moving energy from your mind, from, your upper chakras into the lower chakras. And this is also on our kidney meridian. And the kidney, according to traditional Chinese medicine, holds the feeling of fear. And so if that's showing up in the moment, just tapping underneath your collarbone points can be a really inconspicuous way to take care of your nervous system in the moment.
Really cool. Really cool pointer.
Yeah.
Well, it was beautiful having you on today. It was such a joy talking to you about this.
Yeah, thank you,
Great
Michelle. Thank
guest.
you, Mark. I
Great
really
guest.
appreciated the time.
We definitely would like to also get you on the directory. We'll talk about that after the show, though. I think you got some really cool things to offer people.
Yeah,
Thank you.
people
I'd
will be
love
able to
that.
find you.
That'd be wonderful.
Thanks, Noemi. Please come back and join us again.
Thank you so much. I'd love to.
What a great show today, Michelle. Great guest. Very informative. Right on our same page. What do you think?
Yeah, no, Amy. I keep wanting to say Naomi, but no, Amy is a very cool lady, and I love what she does. I think this tapping. I'm going to start looking into this because
Yeah.
I think that while it can help in as part of your everyday engagement, I think using this on the fly when you're struggling could be incredibly helpful.
Definitely. She was a really good guest, really informative, spoke really well. And, just every time we have another guest on, I learn so much. And I want to do so much more in this space. You know how that is.
I know. We want to meet everybody. We want to get everybody's word out there. We want to talk to as many people as we can.
So
Every
what do
person we
got coming
talk
up
to
next
gets
week?
excited for the next one. Next week we have
Right,
Nina Itzel, who we love.
We love her. Nina
Yes.
Itzel.
Yep.
She's been part of our community for a long time, part of us. And, she's got a beautiful workshop she's come up with. And we'll be talking to her, Mrs. Itzel, next week, one of our favorite friends.
She's a cool lady. She's going to be coming to us from Mexico, and she's been in the space a long time. So she's a very cool lady. All right. Well, this has been another wonderful week.
Thanks for joining us. And
I
don't
love
forget,
you.
hit that subscribe button. Don't forget. What about the subscribe button, Michelle?
Yeah, that's right. You can find us on This is Medicine with the Meadows. We have got the plantmedicinepath.com, mamadose.com, one of our affiliates, Mama Dose, with those microdosing. They've got all kinds of specials for Christmas right now. A new special each week. Definitely check them out.
We're trying to get the word out. Educate, information.
That's right.
Love you guys.
Love you.